We are back. It's the Joe Holka Show presented by Line Movement Conference Championship Week. We got some predictions, picks, opinions. We got it all. You're in the right place. With me yet again is the co-owner of Football Guys, Sigmund Bloom. Sig, how we doing? How was last week for you? I know it was a fun week of football.
Yeah.
I guess even before I ask you how it was, I just want to tell you it was actually our most successful video ever on the channel. Was our video from last week. People like their predictions, man. We're just giving people the answers to the test. We're just, hey, these are who we think's going to win. If you think that, great. Toss a like on this video. If you think I'm dumb, great. Toss us a comment and all that good stuff, man. So mission accomplished in that way. But how was everything else for you? It was a lot of fun games to watch this weekend.
It was fun. It was a little weird.
Yeah.
I have to say it was odd. It was kind of like, I guess we're still in 2020 in a way that some of the internal logic the football gods still teasing it out, but it's always meaningful. There's always memorable names, memorable moments, and we're setting the scene. I can't help but feel like we're really setting the scene for Rodgers and Mahomes, and I think that's what the assuming Patrick Mahomes plays, I think that's what conference championship weekend's going to be about. Maybe someone will steal their thunder, maybe they won't, but I certainly think that they were the two biggest figures on divisional weekend.
Yeah, so do we have any worries? I guess it's only Monday at this point. At this point of the recording, right? So it's going to be a couple days before we get that final say. It seemed like at least in the beginning, Andy Reid was kind of positive about it, and now it looks like maybe not as positive. But I mean, at this point, why would he give away if he's going to be just fine, right? So I guess at what point do you think we'll know? Wednesday, Thursday, something like that?
Well, since the game is in Kansas City, that's going to really allow them to take it up until Sunday if they need to. I really want to get Dr. Gene Bramall in here, like in the third window, because I feel like, Joe, since we've gone through the concussion consciousness era, at first it felt like players were still often coming back and playing the following week. And it feels like the deeper we've gotten into it, the more we haven't seen players playing a week removed from a concussion, but it's very difficult from the outside looking in, peeking through keyholes, as I like to say, for us to be privy to this information. I think it's something that is unknown at this point, and I think that there's the conspiracy theorist or cynic in all of us saying, come on, he's going to play, and there are ways they can do things like on the initial baseline test to kind of fudge the results. There's a lot of stuff here. Like if you want to know how to beat a lie detector test, I can tell you, it's all about that baseline. So I think we're going to see Mahomes out there. I think the fact that Vegas, again, the conspiracy theorists, right? They're taking bets on the game, Joe. So we're going to see.
That's true. I do want to at least tell people, I'm sure most of you guys are following Sig on Twitter and saw this, but just the thing that was causing a little bit of a stir, Sig, and I have it on screen right now, is your tweet about how Taylor Heineke gave Washington a better chance to win against Tampa than Drew Brees is giving New Orleans right now. Tough to say you're wrong in that way. So do you want to, I guess, wrap up that Brees thought? It was pretty ugly yesterday. There's no doubt about it.
It was. Look, I think we can see in the first two games when New Orleans beat Tampa Bay that the defense was forward facing of how they were able to win those games. And it was Jameis Winston threw the first touchdown pass of the game. And it's almost like Sean Payton admitting that, right? But a defense like Tampa Bay's that is so full of speed and aggressiveness, whenever the field is compressed because there's no danger of the quarterback pushing the ball downfield, and you don't even have Taylor Heineke mobility, then you just had a sense of hopelessness as this game went on once New Orleans fell behind. And I think that in both the case of Drew Brees and Ben Roethlisberger, who we'll probably see next year, as a Steelers fan, I'm saying that, you see these guys contemplating their own mortality. And you were a professional athlete, Joe, so you understand that when your whole life has culminated in this career, especially when you achieve greatness, and kudos, let's take a moment to say kudos to the players who leave on their own terms. And not because
not many
they
people
hate
get
playing
to
for
do
Detroit.
that.
Right. And not because they hate playing for Detroit.
Yeah.
The players who just like, I'm good. I want to remember my career at this moment, and I don't need to get to a place where the game tells me like you're not the player that you used to be. So it was sad. I think there's a lot of sadness here in New Orleans today. That being said, there'll always be the Super Bowl victory that a lot of people thought was never going to happen. But hey, Taylor Heineke's a free agent. Let's see who goes after him.
We'll see. So interesting, I guess, week ahead. Just to take a quick step back, obviously we've been doing that prediction challenge, Sig. So you're right, kind of where like you should be, right? You're right in the middle. You're at 5-5. So last week, or the first week, you went 3-3. Last week, you went 2-2. I don't know what's going on, Sig. People should just ignore everything I'm about to say. So 5-1 in week one. Now I'm 9-1 after going 4-0 last week, which is pretty crazy. So I was on Packers, Bills, Chiefs, and Bucs. The only thing that we had different was Ravens over Bills, which was, I loved both those teams so much. One of those teams I had to lose at some point, right? So, and then you did have the Saints over the Bucs. But basically, you live in New Orleans, right? So if you would have picked against the Saints, you would have basically not been able to continue to live there. So we're gonna see if we can turn this thing around. You were in good company, Sig. I was nervous because I believe all of your picks were the exact same as Mike Tagliere and Rich Rebar. So you were in very, very good company. So let's get into it. Not waste any more time. Conference championship. This game number 1, we have Tampa Bay. They're 3.5-point road dogs at Green Bay. It's a 51-point over under. Currently, not a ton of sharp betting activity, at least early. Kind of the 67% of the money and only 32% of the tickets is on the under. That's the only thing we've really seen a ton outside of the Bucs getting a little bit of love on the money line. But Tampa Bay and Green Bay, any thoughts on this one when you saw that would be our NFC championship game?
So if we are evaluating this game, Joe, and I know there's a lot of people who do betting tips, so maybe they can answer this question. I have to imagine that this is the only time that there has been a conference championship hosted by a number 1 seed that was beaten by what? Was it 28 points? Something like that.
It was Rodgers' probably worst game of the year, right? It has to have been close.
The whole Packers team, they just decided to give up partway into that game. They looked like it was like Roberto Duran and no Moss or something like that. They were just like, we're good. We're going to take the L and look on to next week and move forward. So if you just look at it in that atomic sense, boy, it's hard to pick against the Bucs.
Yeah.
Because we've seen one iteration of these two teams match up against each other, and it was really, really bad for the Packers. But I think the Packers have kind of grown up as a team since then, maybe in part because of that game. I also think that Aaron Rodgers, it's like, in Super Mario when he would get the star, and it's just like he's invincible, like nothing, he can just run through everything, nothing can touch him. I think that's how Aaron Rodgers is playing right now. And it's how the Packers feel knowing that he's their quarterback. So I can't pick against Aaron Rodgers right now. And if the line's really only 3.5, because it also seems like at this point that the Buccaneers, without help from Drew Brees, without help from the Saints, probably would have lost to the Saints. So this is a chance, I think, to for the Packers to keep rolling, even though on paper you would think that maybe the odds were against them.
Yeah, I think it was a different team than when they were struggling a little bit. So I wanted to pick the other side just by default, just because of the run that I guess we've been on, and I wanted to give you a chance to make up some ground. But I think I'm on Green Bay in this one as well. I'm not a big Green Bay fan. It's not just because I live in Minnesota. I think that Tampa Bay has taken this thing pretty far, but they've shown there's some holes in this team. Green Bay on offense has just been so efficient against good defenses all year outside of Tampa Bay. So I'm not going to use that one game sample just to say that Aaron Rodgers is incapable. If anything, maybe he comes out here and just takes that a little bit personally, and they absolutely stomp Tampa Bay. I thought there was a strong chance that Tampa Bay wouldn't make it through New Orleans. I thought that was a really close one last week anyway. So I'm with you on Green Bay. Doesn't feel great. I think I'm rooting for Tampa Bay, but my brain says Green Bay in this one. So let's just assume that Patrick Mahomes is in for this next game because it's more fun to talk about. So Buffalo, at least right now, they're a 2.5-point road underdog at Kansas City. The over-under has already moved from 50 points to 54 points. So that's interesting. Some of the sharp activity early is on the over, 72% of the money, only 33% of the bets. So not a ton of action on this game, probably because of the uncertainty at quarterback. But Bills Chiefs, Sig, if Mahomes is in, what are your thoughts on this one?
Again, we have a game to look back to this year, right? And this was a game played in pretty poor conditions. And Leslie Frazier, who did a magnificent job, by the way, Leslie Frazier, his name needs to be said a few more times. Let his name ring out for the job that he did against the Ravens. In conditions that were almost ideal for the Ravens. And when downfield passing is taken away, they're still very much in their element. So they really induced Kansas City to run, and Kansas City did, and the game stayed close. But Josh Allen, it was during that stretch where he was just miserable. It was almost like a regression to pre-2020 form.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know because Kansas City is such a hard thing to get any sort of database take on Kansas City, Joe, is that the second half of the year they were coasting. Mm-hmm. I don't think they won a game by more than a score the second half of the year, and that's not the team that they are. But they're really just like old Patrick, like cool as the other side of the pillow. Like we can just turn it on, we can just snap our fingers and turn it on, just like they did against Cleveland. And it'll come down to Josh Allen, whether Josh Allen can match Patrick Mahomes. And if there's a quarterback in the league who can at this point, it is Josh Allen. And I'm going to do it partially maybe to make up some ground, partially for all my friends that are Bills fans. And also because I think that Kansas City showed against Cleveland maybe a little bit of a lapse, really, if Cleveland had been playing better in the first half, we wouldn't be talking about Cleveland. And look, I get it. Mahomes got knocked out. It happens. I mean, it's not unheard of. So I'm going to pick Buffalo here because I think that the performance against Baltimore showed that the defense can rise to the occasion. And it's wishful thinking, but I think that Josh Allen can go blow for blow with Patrick Mahomes and making those plays that make you say it's just unfair. I can't wait. And remember, Patrick Mahomes also had that little toe issue, so we'll see how that affects. I just really want Buffalo to win.
I want Buffalo to win too. You're going to ask me to pick against Stephon Diggs and the Buffalo Bills. That's not fun for me. But I do think that if you really want to get into the weeds, this Kansas City team, like you mentioned that they can just turn it on. Like it's not a great thing to get in the habit of, but this team seems to be able to do that. They have Andy Reid, who just talk about like a gutsy play call at the end of that game. I can respect that out of a lot of coaches out there that would have just taken, I guess, the easy way out on some of those decisions. I can always respect those ones where they're a little bit more aggressive. So I love Andy Reid. I think that this team can beat you in so many different ways, Sig. Like that's kind of what it comes down to. This defense has looked better. They're always kind of a defense led by Tyrann Mathieu. They could just kind of get turnovers at any time. Like it just seems like not a great matchup for the Bills. We've seen Stephon Diggs be able to push through any matchup. Like you want to it's similar to the Ravens in some ways. You kind of want to attack this Chiefs team on the interior, but we've seen it. And we talked about it last week, and Harmon said the same thing. They'll move Stephon Diggs around enough to where he's still going to have a good amount of success in this game. I would imagine maybe Cole Beasley gets burned everyone last week. Maybe he comes in here and he's a little bit more of a factor. I think it's going to be a really fun game to watch. It's the game I'm most excited to watch for sure in this weekend's games. But I'll go with the Chiefs. I'm going to go with my brain on both plays this week, which never feels great. I think that I'd just rather see the Bills move on to face Tampa in the Super Bowl. But we'll see. I guess we're only one different, Sig. I'll have to see where Reeves and where Mike Tagliere are. But they're probably on the sharp side, which is usually your side. So let's go ahead and leave it there. Sigmund Bloom, everyone. Make sure you follow him on Twitter at Sigmund Bloom. Check out footballguys.com. We are going into the off season. That's the time you want to be reading articles at footballguys.com just to get ready. It's early, but it's never too early to start worrying about your drafts. There's going to be a lot of stuff that we can continue to talk about throughout the off season. Do us a favor, toss a like on this video. Consider subscribing to the channel. Before you get out of here, let us know in the comments who you have moving on to the Super Bowl. We want to hear from you. Sig, always good talking football. My friend, best of luck this weekend. Just enjoy the games, man. I think it'll be a really fun week.